Hello, it's Saturday. Welcome to Creative Ewe podcast. It's a knitting and crocheting podcast. I'm Catherine Kirby. So welcome back. Welcome to all new viewers. Thank you so much. This past week, I've had a lot of trouble getting my videos to upload. It took 3 days to get a podcast uploaded. So my apologies. So what's been going on here? What's been going on at the shop? What are people doing? What are people making? And this is a cowl called the Fair Isle cowl. Not the Fair Isle, but the Fair Isle. And you take, Deb, if you're watching, took a skein of a earth colored, I don't know if you can see, there's browns, there's blues, and then when you do the pattern, the multicolored yarn disc does all the work for you. Sharon Kuhn finished a beachcomber shawl, and I wish that you could see these colors because it's a cascade yarn called Sunseekers, and it has sparkles. And then for the lace portion, she used a mercerized cotton. It's kind of shiny. It is just gorgeous. We all love it when people bring things into the shop, show us what they're doing and making. So what have I been doing? I do have dogs and cats, so usually Sharon also came to the shop and she trimmed my hair. My husband, I've never since we've been together seen him look so bad. And so, well, I am a licensed beautician, and she offered to cut our hair. She went in the bathroom with us. She had her cape along. My husband looks so nice. He looks cool. His neck is cool again. And he gave her $20 and she refused it, and she left it in the bathroom. So later, Katie, if you're watching, Katie's boys, Milo and Sam, came, and they, boys always have to check out the bathroom. I can remember about 2 years ago, Milo went in the bathroom and he came out and said, "Mom, I used the shaving cream." And Katie looked at me like, "What?" Foaming soap, but it does look like shave. So they came out and said, "Look what we found in the bathroom." And if times weren't tight, I would have given it to them, but times are tight. So this is, I've heard cowls called neck warmers. I've never heard them called gaiters. It's a very easy lace pattern. This is done with brown sheep cotton fleece, which is a worsted weight, 20% wool, 80% cotton. It's a classic. And this is from a book by Tanis Gray called Cozy Knits, 50 Patterns. And there it is, the Weekend Away Lace Gaiter. So I'll have to look up, where does the word gaiter come from? And, it's a pretty nice book. I like this cowl too. Isn't that pretty? And some women work in air-conditioned offices and their necks get really cold. So that would be a good, just a lightweight neck warmer. So this is what a friend wants me to make for his expensive car. And he wants me to do it with a yarn called Lujoso, which is a very luxurious yarn. So I guess I'll get started. So one of the themes this week was patterns that deceive. And Sharon also did it's a top where you do, I guess, 2 squares and seam them together. It's done with the Louisa Harding yarn. Oh, the picture's not on here. And she said, it told me to sew in 6 inches from each edge. She is a little tiny woman. I mean, if she weighs 100 pounds, and she said, I would never get my head in there. So you gotta be really careful. So this is the one I was talking about It's actually done with this yarn, cotton fleece, and it looks like it's a wavy pattern. But I know this pattern, and it's not wavy. It's the way they folded the blanket, and whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. But it is deceptive. I'm not a huge fan of Knit Simple. Maybe if I were the editor and people were firing complaints about me, I feel like most of the patterns are repeats from years gone by. And we had done a podcast on Fringe. Now this is a fairly new magazine, and that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, I asked a couple people because sometimes what I don't like, can you imagine bending over to eat? They'll put a couple pillows in, an article on making tassels, the blanket, a couple sweaters. That's a drop stitch, and again, they're repeats. These are not. Baby sweaters are always a safe thing, a magazine, because they're repeats. They've been run again and again and again. I've seen these baby slippers before. They're not new. A granny square top. They like to stick granny square things in. A granny square pocketbook. That doesn't take any creative prowess at all. A granny shawl. If they just got, pillows, I mean, come on. You look through it and you can't find anything to make. And most likely the little baby sweaters are pieced. You have to do all the pieces separately. So let's see, baby sweater. Yep, left front, right front sleeves. It's discouraging, and I won't spend my money on Knit Simple, and I don't get it at the shop. So what else are we talking about? I love preteen and children's books, especially those that won awards. When Zachary Beaver came to town, it is a great book. It's about the fattest kid in the world who is in this trailer. And it's like a freak show, but the boys his age are drawn to him, especially when the driver leaves him sit there for a couple weeks and doesn't come back. The characters were just unforgettable. They really were. They were so wonderful. So now I'm reading The Whistling Season. I know I've read it before. It's a wonderful book set back in the early 1900s. 3 or 4 boys and their dad, widowed. They look forward to every Sunday going to their aunt's house because then they get a full spread meal. And the father sees this housekeeper, but she doesn't cook. And he responds and she responds, and she says, well, that's not as much money as I expected. I would need 3 months in advance and a train ticket. And so they have gotten picked on horribly at school because the littlest brother, who's probably like first grade, he's answering all these questions about her. And then he says, and she doesn't bite. So now everybody's picking. Does she have gummers? Is she so old she's toothless? So here they are, chapter 3, at the train station waiting. And the boys are thinking that she's going to be this big matronly woman. And, the one woman in their life is their mom's sister, her husband's mother, Aunt Eunice. They don't understand why they have to call her aunt, and she's so fatalistic and grouchy and depressive, and she's sitting there. There's a phrase where she's sitting there working at her crochet doilies. And I thought, see, why do they have to give that negativity to knitting and crocheting? Like it's something that ancient grouchy people do. But anyway, so they're waiting. They keep looking for somebody that looks housekeeping-ish. And then there she is. They knew her name was Rose Llewellyn. And here's this slender figure. We felt ourselves shrink in the presence of those great-bosomed old creatures shrouded in dresses as solemnly gray as the gravestones whereunder their late husbands lay. But this mourner of Mr. Llewellyn, whoever he may have been, was all but swathed in a traveling dress the shade of blue flame. Minneapolis evidently did not lack for satin, and there did not seem to be an ounce extra anywhere on her pert frame. In fact, I noticed Father give a double look as if there must be more of her somewhere. And she was awfully far from being old. It's a great book, and because it's been so long since I've read it, it'll be like reading a new book. Their father vowed never to get married again. You can't blame women for not being Florence, but I think I remember her presence in the home. He can't ignore her. So I'm still working on my Togue pond. In one of my books, I was reading about a pond that was filled with mosquitoes and the water was nasty, and I thought, no, that's not the Togue pond. Even though I have gauge, and I might be wrong, this does seem kind of big. It has a shape to it, and I showed it. It goes so fast because it's done on number 10 needles, and it's a cotton linen yarn, and I am loving it, and my fingers are loving it. It is just zooming. This is, by Pam Allen, the owner of Quince & Co. Yarns. And she actually started her own yarn company. I was reading about her. She was the editor of Interweave Knits. She designed, I'm sure she knew lots of designers, and she felt that yarn companies aren't sourcing American mills. And the way they go to big shows like Vogue Live and so forth really isn't the way to sell yarn. And so she started her own company, and it looks like it's doing really well. Cotton Fleece Brown Sheep is a American company, third generation. And I had a woman walked into the shop the other day and said, oh, this is made in China. This is made in Peru. This is Italian. And I said to her, I have American yarns, but they're my worst sellers. People want them. The prices are good. So what's wrong? I'm not understanding. So just a little blurb about Freeform Crochet. It was a rage in the 70s, and I haven't seen a lot of people do it, but it is very creative, and it can be very modern. And you basically just take your thread and just start going and see what you want to do. The only experience I had with it, and it wasn't entirely freeform crochet, was a lady that came into the shop. People give her their favorite photograph, and then she matches the yarn. She'll do the mountain, she'll do the lake, she does textures. It's beautiful. She'll do pillows. I only read one time about a woman that took a class on freeform knitting, and she was kind of a straight and narrow person, very practical. She did not know that was what the class was going to be about. When she got there, she wanted to walk out, and she loved it. And I looked her up, and she had like freeform designed all these things. So you can do that with knitting or crocheting. basically, if you were locked in a room and you didn't have a pattern and you just say, well, let's do this, let's do that, let's add this color, it's kind of the way children play, you know? So that's it for today. I'll see you all next week. I sure hope that I can get these podcasts loaded. So take care, keep that smile, and shine, baby, shine, and God bless you.